everybody. We as Charles from Team COG coming at you guys here with a Holy Knight deck profile. Now this is a deck that I'm very excited to play, and I couldn't really help, especially with the Christmas season being around, holding out and waiting for us to actually get the cards. And I think we'll probably get them in Ghosts of the Past or something that Ghost set. But yeah, guys, I'm really excited to showcase this deck. And if you guys remember a long time ago, I really told you guys, like, I enjoyed the way Trickstars played. If they just would smack some armor on them and make them a little bit more knightly, I 100% would play the deck. And that's kind of what they did with the small level 4 fairy monsters. But for the most part, the deck revolves around the Radiant Serio, however you pronounce his name, which is an old card that's been revamped, and he has an entire archetype behind him. So without further ado, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into the profile and get on, and I'll explain my choices and possible cards you can play, different avenues, all that type of thing when we get into it. But for the most part, we are playing 3 Radiant Serio. So what this card says is on normal or special, target a card and destroy it. It cannot be destroyed by battle if it's a dark monster, and it also cannot be destroyed by dark monster's effects. And it also, whenever it battles, it can banish the monster and then make a second attack. So we get like kind of like a weaker or probably a stronger Galaxy Eyes effect there in a way, a more aggressive Galaxy Eyes effect right there. But the most important thing to note is this popping is not once per turn. It continually gets to pop. You know, every time it comes down, it pops. Reborn, pop, summons, pop, 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 however you want to say it. Then after that, we have the best Holy Knight Angel, which of course is Holy Knight Rael. A Holy Knight Rael is your Stratos of the deck. It allows you to search out any Spello Trap, which of course the Spello Traps are pretty good. That's one of my sayings, is a Rhoda or a Deneb or Stratos for the deck is always really good. It only depends on what it can search though, and what this card can search is not too bad. But this card also has the ability that you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Holy Knight monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use the effect of Holy Knight Rael once per turn. This right here is very interesting. I wish they did not have this clause on the search effect, because we do have a spell card that lets us get an additional normal summon. And this deck is really fun, really fair, and it's good. But just because it's fair doesn't mean it's bad. In my opinion, I think it's a really good, maybe tier 3, low tier 2, very low tier 2 strategy that can come out and play. But then we have one of probably the worst Holy Knight cards, Flamel. Now Flamel is, I say, worse in this build right now, because it just, when your opponent monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand or field, special summon 1 level 7 light monster, or 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. Then a quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 level 7 light dragon monster you control in your graveyard, return it to the hand. So in this variant, he's not the best. However, if you wanted to play cards like Galaxy Soldier, you could play this card in multiples, because, you know, you pitch it with Galaxy Soldier, you can practically recur your level 7 light dragon monster from your graveyard for more discard fodder for the next Galaxy Soldier. But for the most part, it's just in here for name for this current build, and I'm planning to test the Galaxy Soldiers list a little bit further more in detail later, but for the most part, we're playing 1 for the name, 1 Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Now this card right here is a level 4 Light Fairy that you can beam out using Ties of the Brethren, and it also just says you can only summon light monsters, and that's exactly what this entire deck is, outside of Condemned Witch. But something to note is it just says neither player can special summon, so if you normal summon Barrier Statue of Heavens, it sticks around, you draw into Condemned Witch, you can still normal summon the Condemned Witch, get your Search for your Bidden card, and then the following turn tag this out for any of your Holy Knight cards. Again, this right here is just a main deck monster floodgate that allows us to practically control the board with the Radiant Serio. But then we move on to Holy Knight Astel. Astel is the quick effect that allows you to tribute a light monster. It doesn't have to be fairy. Tribute a light monster to special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand. So this is another way, and this is a quick effect, this is another way that you're going to be able to beam out the dragon on your opponent's turn for forms of disruption. Now, its banishing effect is nothing like too spectacular. It just allows you to give 1,000 attack to a level 7 light dragon. So of course, it's just going to allow Serio to become 35, which, you know, could matter. We are on to Condemned Witch, because Condemned Witch on normal summon gets you any forbidden card of your choice. I just play with the cards that I have, which of course I do not own Droplets, but I own Chalice. You normal summon, get your forbidden card, and then in your opponent's turn you can tag this card out into whatever you truly desire. A Rael to get an additional search for a spell or trap, tag it out into an Astel to be able to beam down the Radiant Serio during your opponent's turn, you name it. The next cards we are playing is 3 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom, of course, just being the best generic hand trap in the game currently. This might change by the time this deck comes out, but right now, Ashing a Lulu is pretty good if you were to, you know, ask me. Moving on, we do have Holy Knight Bellfire. This card right here is add 1 Holy Knight monster or 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your deck to your hand, and then if your opponent controls a dark monster and you control no monsters, you just get to special summon the level 7 light dragon from your hand. it's the Rhoda, it's additional Rhoda of the deck. So this right here is a hardcore Rhoda, and then this right here is just the searcher for the Rhoda. But the good thing to note, if you do open this and this, you can use this to search some of your stronger traps or more of your additional spells, and then this right here can get you any of your Holy Knights or Radiant Seru from your deck to your hand, which of course, in conjunction with the field spell, you can potentially normal summon Astel, and then you have Attribute during your opponent's turn. The artwork on this card is just beautiful, if you ask me. But moving on, 3 Ties of the Brethren. This card is actually, probably in my opinion, one of the best cards in the deck. All your level 4 lowers outside of Condemned Witch are level 4 light fairies. So all you gotta do is just normal summon, get your search, get your effect, or even if you have like one of the worst ones, like Flamel, you normal summon Flamel, activate Ties of the Brethren, you beam out the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, and then you beam out Rael, get your search off Rael. Rael then can get you into cards that'll get you to the Radiant Seru. And then with this card being out on the field, you're able to send it to summon out the Seru to protect the Barrier Statue of the Heavens. And that's just something that's very important, if you ask me, in my opinion. This deck right here, I mean, we do not do a lot, we're not a combo, we don't do a lot of summoning during our turns, it's mostly during the opponent's turn, which we're trying to get the most forms of interaction. So again, Ties of the Brethren. The only thing I can say that I really would regret is paying that 2,000, then time in the round is called, and then you just cry, but pay attention to the clock, don't do that if you have to. But yeah, then we move on to 3, Pot of Extravagance, the best draw card in my opinion. I don't like the other new pot card coming out. I mean, it's just it's a mass Pot of Duality that has like no restriction except for your extra deck, but I just still prefer Extravagance over that because we really don't care what we banish. If you want to play the Galaxy Soldiers in here, you can still play this card. You just have to play, I would just recommend playing 3 Nova and 3 Infinity, and you're still able to play this card, and then you're just hoping to draw into additional extenders, additional cards to get you to more of your disruptions. But moving on from that, everyone kind of knows what Pot of Extravagance does, and everyone knows what Forbidden Chalice does. It's just the ability to negate certain, negate a monster effect. Pretty good searchable off of Condemned Witch. I chose to play it at 2 just simply because it's not too bad opening it, especially with Shadal's out there. You normal summon Flamel, get your search. Windows, I believe, is 2,200 if I remember correctly, and this right here gives additional 400, making that your Rael becomes becomes 22, so you crash into the window, removing it, which is not too shabby, but that could come up. The next continuous spell card, which is Holy Knight Nativity. Holy Knight Nativity here just says during your main phase you can reveal 1 light fairy monster from your hand, and if you do, add a 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your deck, then place a revealed monster at the bottom of your deck. So this right here is not too good in that aspect, but what it's really good as is it says if your opponent activates a card or effect, special summon 1 level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. So that's where this card is really good, because no matter what, even in like your worst hands, if you have like a bad fairy that doesn't get you anywhere, like Flamel, or like even Astel, or the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, which I'll talk about this in a second, you just put it back, get yourself Seru, and then as soon as your opponent does anything, you can beam down the Seru, which Seru pops the card. So it's like worst case scenario, you can do things like that. But something that's very interesting is you can normal summon Rael. If you hard open the Barrier Statues of the Heavens, you can normal summon the Rael, search out the Nativity, use Nativity to put back the Barrier Statue, grab yourself the Seru, and then if you open Ties of the Brethren, you can then just Ties of the Brethren out the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, along with Astel, and then right there you have the ability to special summon, like really good. It's just a really cool play that Ties and Holy Knight Nativity kind of have. I do like, this is a card I would potentially say you can get away with playing 2 of. You do not have to play 3 of it, but at the same time, it does, like the way the deck works, the strategy of the deck is get to Radiant Seru as quickly as possible, and that's what you kind of want to max out on. But again, I digress. If you really wanted to cut it, you very well could. There are a few cards in here that you could potentially cut and still put in the Galaxy Soldier if you want to. I just did not have extensive time testing Galaxy Soldier, and Nativity is one of those cards you can definitely cut down to 1, or cut 1 of. Holy Knight Sky. This card is very interesting. It gives your entire deck an additional normal summon, and then if you bounce if the Radiant Seru or level 7 dragon is returned from anywhere to your hand, you draw a card. So that comes in conjunction with Flamel pretty well, and maybe if you did try to play more Flamel, because you wanted to play more Flamel, because of course you look at his artwork, but if you chose to play more Flamel and you incorporate the Galaxy Soldier, it just allows you to use Flamel to bounce cards back to your hand to get you draws, and of course this card plus one of the traps with the Radiant Seru just allows you to get an additional draw. That's why we also played at 1. It's not super important to the deck. The additional normal summon does not come up because we do not, the biggest impact normal summon we have is Rael, and the rest of them are kind of minuscule compared to Rael. The only time that the additional normal summon comes up is if you happen to open Rael and maybe Astel, you can normal summon this, get your additional normal summon of Astel, use rail to get yourself Nativity, get yourself, you know, Bellfire, depending on what you need to complete your, like, controlling board that you have. But other than that, Holy Night Sky is a solid one of to play. Moving on to Holy Night Blast. Star so bright, star so light, star so bright, decimate evil in my sight is what this card practically says. When your opponent activates a card or effect, return one level 7 dragon you control to the hand, negate the effect, and if you do, destroy that card. This card is not a counter trap, which is kind of stinky, but you know, it is pretty good for what, you know, it can also be a trap tricked out if you want to play that. And if you guys can tell, this card is the card that works well with Holy Night. Oh, Holy Night Sky. That will bounce back, you draw a card. This should have been a counter trap in my opinion, and it's not as very upsetting, I don't know why. So like, this is where Konami was like trying to make this deck really fair, and I do not believe making this a counter trap would have made it unfair by any means. It just makes it weaker, but again, if you really think about it, this card can also be trap tricked out if you really want to get to this card, so I guess there is that plus side there. But this is practically the negation you have that can also be searched by Rael. One of the best trap cards in the deck currently is Holy Night Advent. This card is another card that just lets you return the level 7 dragon, which of course is going to be Radiant Serial until we get a better one, from your hand and bounce it back from the field. So this card also, again, works very well with Holy Night, and it allows you to get multiple pops with your Seiryu. So do take note, I believe if it says here quick effect, you can, yeah, so Flamel is just really good in conjunction with this card, and Astel here, you use Astel, special out Seiryu, bounce, banish Flamel as a quick effect, bounce back to Seiryu, activate an Advent, special back out to Seiryu, pop 2 cards. Pretty simple. And then we have 2 Summon Limit, and let's be honest, it's the closest thing to Kaiser Coliseum, and this deck is practically a, you know, it does not flood the board by any means. The most monsters you're going to have out on your board are by means of 3, and that's just because it ties the Brethren. And then Solemn Strike. Now these traps can be anything you possibly want. We are a control deck, so you can even cut down, like I said, on possibly one of the Holy Night Blast, and cut down on one of the Holy Night Nativity, and then you can cut down on, you know, like, you could potentially play one of the 2 Radiant Seiryu, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just how switchable it is. You could also cut down on Forbidden Chalice if you wanted to fit in the Galaxy Soldiers and keep it under 40. However, if you're like me and you like to keep your deck count at 42 is a good solid number as well, you could throw in the Galaxy Soldiers and then cut down a Holy Night Blast and be okay there. You don't have to play Strike. Strike can be potentially any hand trap you want, and as far as Summon Limit go, I do recommend playing a Floodgate. You just don't, it does not have to be Summon Limit. I just felt like Gozen and Rivalry does not work in the deck, and Gozen, like, it kind of conflicts as well with the Condemned Witch. You could cut Condemned Witch by all means, but again, Summon Limit was the best option in my opinion, because whatever they try, once they get 2 monsters or they do that, you just pop it with Seiryu. And this does not harm you in any way whatsoever, because you get additional normal summon with Holy Night Sky, which is searchable. There's definitely ways to play around this, so I believe this is the best Floodgate the deck can play. But moving on to the extra deck, it really does not matter, my guys and gals. You can play whatever extra deck monsters you want because you're using Pot of Extravagance. I just recommend playing utility cards. And then again, if you want to play Galaxy Soldier, which is down here in the side deck, just play 3 Infinity and 3 Nova, which is fine. And then before we end this video, guys, I'd go ahead and like to tell you guys there is a new Holy Night card out. I have not tested him yet. He's like, he allows you to like bounce a card back to your hand and summon himself, which should have been a quick effect, but it's not. But it just allows you to, again, draw more off Holy Night Sky, but I believe that card is an essential 3 of in the deck, so I'm gonna have to come back to it and see what we can do with the current list. I gotta test a little bit more with him, but until then, guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Charles from Team COG, signing out.